nation around the world has been struggling to defeat the coronavirus on its own, including the United States of America. No help has been coming, neither from the UN nor from the WHO. In fact, both UN and WHO are cruelly asking for funds from member states that are currently devastated by the ongoing pandemic that the UN and the WHO helped spread. This clearly confirms that both UN and WHO are controlled by China that caused this virus and launched it like an invisible ammunition to kill people around the world. That's why WHO refused to admit it as a pandemic, waiting for it to depart Asia, cross Europe and land in America. Then when the virus killed innocent human beings, WHO confessed afterwards that it is an epidemic. It was too late. Now, both the UN, headed by the world dictator Antonio Guterres, and the WHO, headed by the World Health Exterminator Tedros Adhanom, criminally expect the world to trust them in finding a cure for COVID-19. What a tactic plan. Can we easily trust those who started the war to put an end to it? Especially when knowing that in 2019, the President of the UN General Assembly, Tijani Mohamed Bande, appointed a co-facilitator of process of strengthening UN Human Rights Treaty body system. And the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, approved the appointment. The human rights co-facilitator was Morocco, the occupying power of three free nations, Tangier, Rif and Sahara, the corrupt country where there is no respect for women and children and the total neglect to human rights. The heaven touristic nation where prostitution and pedophilia are like drinking tea with mint. The territory where the government runs human trafficking by kidnapping and killing kids using black magic practices and threatening their families. The state where royalty controls drug trafficking and promotes terrorism. The kingdom where the king either killed or made disappear his own wife, Princess Salma, and nobody can say or do anything, fearing to end up either dead or disappeared like her. And the horror hotspot where detention centers are more common than public parks. And the world's largest torture prison, Kara without a door, is built underground, extending through the major part of Morocco. This is a second Holocaust, and it is intended for all of humanity. How could this happen? We have to find out. First, who is the head of WHO? Tedros Adhanom has been called by a prominent medical journal a dictator general of WHO when he chose President Mugabe of Zimbabwe as a goodwill ambassador upon his appointment in 2017, knowing that Zimbabwe's healthcare system had gone backward under Mugabe's regime that was known of human rights abuses. Prior to his election in 2017, Tedros Adhanom was accused of cover-up of 3 possible cholera epidemics in his country, Ethiopia, in 2016 when he was the Minister of Health. As UN officials said, that more aid and vaccines could have been delivered to save lives in Ethiopia should Tedros Adhanom had acted properly and if he had confirmed that the outbreaks were cholera pandemic in Ethiopia. Tedros Adhanom's candidacy for WHO Director General was opposed by several Ethiopian parties due to his career in the Tigray People's Liberation Front, that is known as the most powerful of the armed liberation movements in Ethiopia, and which supported Tedros Adhanom financially, providing millions of dollars for his candidacy in WHO. To become the Director General of WHO, Tedros Adhanom was finally endorsed by the African Union that was chaired by Mugabe himself. This was a friendship favor. Mugabe put Tedros in charge of World Health, and Tedros made Mugabe the World Health's goodwill ambassador, while both killed people in their own countries. Wow, what an agreement. The only world organization that recruits criminals is the United Nations. Tedros Adhanom was praised for his commitment to gender equality. Really? Princess Salma, the wife of the Moroccan king, was appointed WHO Goodwill Ambassador in 2006. Princess Salma vanished from this planet in 2017, and WHO did not dare or care to investigate her whereabouts. Rumors say that Princess Salma either was killed or disappeared in one of the Moroccan detention centers by either her husband, the King of Morocco, or one of his sisters. Moroccan government officials leaked secret information that a woman who looks like Princess Salma has been paid by the Moroccan royalty to pose for royal photos in order to dissuade the Moroccans from attempting to know the truth and make them believe that Princess Salma is still alive. Isn't it the responsibility of either the Secretary General of the UN or the Director General of the WHO to recommend an investigation into the disappearance of a WHO Goodwill Ambassador who did not only receive a WHO gold medal, but was a wife of a head of state?
We know that Morocco has been publicly known of bribing UN high-level officials to get away with its crimes and human rights abuses when it comes to violence against women, child abuse, prostitution, pedophilia, and drug and human trafficking, as well as barbaric oppression to the citizens of 3 occupied territories: my homeland, the former international zone of Tangier, together with the former Rif Republic and the Western Sahara. Have both Guterres and Adhanom received bribes from Morocco to conceal its crimes and human rights abuses? Where is UN Women? Isn't it the UN entity advocating for women empowerment? Nobody cared or dared to act, not even to find out whether this woman continues to exist. So where is Salma? All what happened is that Salma's records on the website of WHO as a Goodwill Ambassador have been deleted discreetly without leaving a trace. The reality is that Ban Ki-moon, as a handing over broker, put the UN up for sale on the markets, and Antonio Guterres, as a taking over broker, sold it to China to take the lead as world's major power and auctioned it to Morocco to be in charge of world's human rights. In which world are we living? The UN has been run like an airport without air traffic control. Anyone can navigate by shutting the mouth of those who communicate to make sure nobody would investigate. The UN is now completely kaput. The UN should either reformulate its entire system or dismantle its existence to shut down, because it has not only become a cult, it has become a cartel.
The UN now more than ever is contaminated by the communist China, disgraced by the dictator Morocco, and controlled by more socialist and Sharia law countries. I believe the dangerous virus that hit this world hard a long time ago is corruption before corona. Should the UN continue to function under this apocalyptic system, there would be no world peace and security. It might be a world end instead. The United States of America, together with other member states, which are concerned about UN corruption and UN inefficiency, should not only rethink whether to continue funding the WHO, they should decide to stop funding the UN as a whole instead. Unless the UN system is transformed from dictatorship to democracy, the current UN is definitely not preventing a third world war, but it is certainly inventing a third world war. On 15 September 2020, the world witnessed the noble achievement of our President, Mr. Donald J. Trump, in securing and signing the historic peace agreement between Israel and the United Arab Emirates, a treaty of peace that could be a first step towards stabilizing the Middle East, a deal that could never be reached by 9 UN Secretaries General in a period of 75 years. In addition to his role as a commander-in-chief in the world's greatest nation, that is both the UN host country and the UN biggest donor, President Trump took on the role of both a world peacemaker through his leadership in Abraham Accord and the world eye-opener in his heroism declaring China as the cause of the deadly disease COVID-19 that killed countless humans around the globe. While the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is on the one hand filling his pocket with bribes from dictator nations that all what they have been doing is chanting death to America and destruction to Israel, while inflicting inhuman tortures on their dissidents and allowing the spread of terrorism, and is on the other hand promoting the communist China to take over US power through the UN on US territory. Yet, the US president was impeached as an American chief citizen and taxpayer, while the UN Secretary General, a world leader and betrayer, who gets away with his corruption activities on American soil, taking advantage of not only United States funds,
but also other decent nations' funds to fake peace and security, never pays US taxes, and can never be impeached by US Congress. It is, in my opinion, that now the Americans and the world citizens need to know the secrets of UN shadow. Both World War I and II were initiated and decided by man in power. Both the failed League of Nations and the failing United Nations were established by man in power. While all secretaries general of these two major world organizations have been men, taking into account that most world nations have been governed by man leaders. Should the world now take a moment to imagine the United Nations led by women? It is now time that the UN Secretary General stops watching each communist dictator socialist nation's diabolic politics, leading to global chaos, and starts uniting this world against out of this world's threats. With Andalusian blood, Herculean perseverance, Spaniard pride, Turkish spirit, American mind, and Australian humility, I believe I can do a good job as the first woman UN leader. Would you encourage me? My target is that we fight corruption, wipe out discrimination, defend humanity, achieve gender equality, make justice, and live in peace. Whether you are scientists, journalists, ufologists, or philanthropists, whether you are astronauts or architects, whether you are astronomers or entrepreneurs, whether you are librarians or humanitarians, whether you are business or community leaders, whether you are civilian or military servants, whether you are public service or private sector employees, whether you are police or intelligence officers, whether you are lawyers or brokers, whether you are fashion or real estate agents, or whether you are mayors, governors, presidents, or royalty members, please join me in my campaign and support me to spread the word of justice in order to change the world of injustice. If elected, I will be honored to become the first woman UN Secretary General and proud to pay US taxes in New York. With me, there will be no permission for sexism, no authority for atrocity, no race for racism, no room for corruption, no chance for conspiracy, no opportunity for fraud, and no power to be abused. Doing the right thing at the right time runs in my blood before it circulates in my brain. My inspirer, Atamız Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, who is regarded, according to world studies, as one of the greatest leaders of the 20th century, said, "Peace at home, peace in the world." Please watch my YouTube channel, Unhurt Dignity, which means that you unhurt my dignity, while my dignity is unhurt. If you want to contact me, please do so on my contact details displayed on the screen. Till my next video about my life path around the world, my career journey in the UN, and why I want to become UN Secretary General, be healthy and stay safe. Always remember, honor a woman, honor a nation.